We'll do a review in Likutei Sichas in Chelek Chav Gimel, that's in volume 23. That's the second Sicha for the Parshas Bamidbar. It's a Rashi Sicha in which Rashi explains that when brings down that when a person teaches Torah to a son of his friend, it's as if he gave birth to him, as Rashi brings down from the pasuk that it says that Moshe gave birth to the sons of Aaron. It's Toldoisov, even though he didn't physically give birth to them, but he taught them Torah that makes them his children. And the Rebbe goes into whole explanation, has a lot of questions, but the Rebbe's bottom line explanation is that there is a special koyach from Matan Torah in which the Yidden learned, Moshe Rabbeinu learned Mipi HaGavura, so that he was able, and it's considered as if he actually gave birth to them, to the sons of Aaron, who he learned specially Torah, and that special gevura, that special power, a Yid has in all generations, as we will see in the Sikha. Let's go inside, we'll go step by step. In Posuk Aleph, in Posuk, Ve'ele Toldis Aaron Moshe B'yoim Diber Hashem es Moshe B'Har Sinai. The Posuk says these are the generations, the children of Aaron and Moshe, on the day when Hashem spoke to Moshe on Har Sinai. So stellt sich Rashi auf die Wörter. Rashi places himself on the words Ve'ela Toldos Aaron and Moshe. These are the generations of Aaron and Moshe. Und is mefarish, and Rashi explains, Ve'ene maskir elo b'nei Aaron. Here the pasuk, as we continue, doesn't mention Moshe's generations, his children, but he only mentions Bnei Aaron. He only mentions the children of Aaron. Why does the Torah say these are Toldos Aaron and Moshe? So Rashi says, Penikru Toldos Moshe, the reason why they're called the generations of Moshe, Lefi Shalindam Torah, because Moshe taught them Torah. And that's why they're called these generations. And Rashi says, Melamed, this teaches us, Shekola Melamed is ben Chavei Torah, that anyone who will teach the son of his friend Torah, Mala Olav HaKosuv Ki'ilu Yoldei. The Torah counts it at him as if he gave birth. So, since Moshe Rabbeinu taught the children of Aaron, they're considered also Toldos Moshe. That's why it's Toldos Aaron and Moshe. Und wie Meforshim seine Masvir dem Tam. And as Meforshim explained, for was das is shaykh to be the Bnei Aaron Dafka. How come we're giving this, calling it the children of Moshe, only Aaron's sons? We say that Aaron's sons were till this Aaron and Moshe. What about the rest of the Yidden? Chachas Moshe had gelernt Torah mit alle Yidden, although Moshe Rabbeinu taught Torah to all Jews. While Moshe had gelernt mit Zei Bazunder, because Moshe taught them individually, while all Yidden heard it all together, but there was a special teaching for Moshe Rabbeinu for the sons of Aaron. Und Eder hat gelernt mit alle Yidden, and that was before he taught all Yidden. He taught the sons of Aaron specifically. Rashi hat schon mefarish gelernt. Rashi hat schon gebracht frier in Seit Parshas Tiso. As Rashi brought before in the end of the portion of Kisiso, them Seder Mishnah, the order how he would teach them. So first he would teach to Aaron, and then he would teach to the sons of Aaron. So the sons of Aaron got it afterwards, before everybody else, and only afterwards he taught the rest of the Yidden. Bald as in them is Moshe nit given mechuyev. This is something to teach the sons of Aaron ahead of everybody. Moshe was not obligated. V'adrabah. Why was he not obligated? Bald erot shen gehad gelernt freier mit Aaronen, since he already has taught it first to Aaron. That's what the first one who Moshe Rabbeinu taught it. Is doch shein Aaron geworden mechuyev. So that meant that Aaron has already been obligated to learn mit seine Kinder. He was supposed to learn with his children. It became his obligation of the father of Aaron to go ahead and teach his children. The Riber of Moshe bakumen dem schar miyuchad. That's why Moshe received this unique reward. As my law the pasuk counts it upon him as if he gave birth to them, and they're called Eilatolis Aaron Moshe, also Moshe's children. Then Rashi continues in his commentary. It says, "B'yoim diber hamvaya es Moshe." That when on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, Nas Elu HaTalmidim Shalom. That is when the Bnei Adam became his Tolde, Elu HaTolde Shalom. That's when they became his generations. Shalom dom ma shalom ad mipi hagavura, because Moshe taught them that he had learned mipi hagavura from Hashem. What is Rashi coming to add with the explanation in Zweiten Dibur in the second Rashi? Nasu elu hatolit shaloi shalomdam ma shalomad mipiagvura. So what is Rashi coming to add over here in this Rashi? Ahodem inyan shein gezogt in dem friedigen Dibur. He already said this concept in the previous Rashi. Shalom dan Torah, ma'ala olav hakosov ki ilu yodai. That since he taught them Torah, so the Torah counts it that if he gave birth to them. So what is Rashi adding? Lemnem meforshim. So the Farshim explain as by Rashi is kosher the hemshech hakosov. But Rashi has difficulty with the continuation of the pasuk. We passen the Wörter b'yoim diber Havaya es Moshe. How do the words on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe fit als hemshech zu ve'elu toldos Aaron goymer, that these are the children of Aaron. So they're the children of Aaron and Moshe. Then the pasuk says, when Hashem spoke to Moshe, what is the connection to being the children of Aaron on the day Hashem spoke to Moshe? Is Rashi mefarish as b'yom diber Havaya v'goymer kum behemshech nitzu ve'ela toldos Aaron, that when it says b'yom diber Hashem does not follow, not the words that these are the children of Aaron, because that has nothing. Children of Aaron has nothing to do with b'yom diber Hashem. Nor to the elder told us, Moshe said, this is generation of Aaron and Moshe. Bald b'nei Aaron werden angerufen euch told this Moshe. Since the sons of Aaron are also referred to as the sons, as the generation, as the children of Moshe, therefore was lomdom Torah v'Rashi sagt in friedigen Dibur. Because Moshe taught them Torah, as Rashi said in the previous Rashi, so therefore the pasuk immediately cautions us, as der inyan hat sich aufgetan vom b'yoim diber Hashem es Moshe. That has been accomplished, or that has been taking place from the Yom Diber Hashem es Moshe, when Hashem was speaking to Moshe. Was Damul Lomdon Mashalova de Piagavura. That is when he taught them that which he has learned from Hashem. So that's why it's also Eila Turlish Moshe, that it's also Moshe, because that is when Moshe started teaching them, when Hashem was teaching Moshe. Moshe taught the Bnei Aaron. Und das was the Posik Zog b'yoyim diber havayis Moshe. So why does the Torah say only on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe? But that should be true for the all the following time. The L'chaira, Moshe had doch gelernt Torah mit the Bnei Aaron. Moshe was teaching Torah, the sons of Aaron, euch die ganze Zeit. Also, the entire time was noch dem Yom Diber Havayis Moshe, which after the day that Hashem taught to Moshe. Moshe was continuously teaching the Bnei Aaron. Why does the Torah limit and say that they are considered the sons of Moshe only on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe? And the Rebbe says, not only did Moshe continue teaching them, the main teaching Torah to the Yidden, the Chalal, generally speaking, especially with the sons of Aaron, that only started mainly after the day of Yom Kippur. That was noch the Drit Arboim Yom. Moshe wasn't around the Chalal from the time of Matan Torah till after Yom Kippur. That was the third Arboim Yom. The third 40th days, 3 times 40, was Moshe's given Bahar. The first time when Moshe was in the mountain, the first 40 days. And then when he broke the luchas, he went out to pray for another 40 days. And then he went up another 40 days, and Hashem forgave him until Yom Kippur, where Hashem said, and then he came down after that from the mountain, and that's when Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching Torah. So this is more than 4 months from the time that Hashem spoke to Moshe Har Sinai. So why is the Torah saying that this is b'yoyim diber Hashem when Hashem spoke to Moshe? But answering the Forshim answered this on 2 ways. First of all, the word Aleph, b'yoyim diber, doesn't mean on that day, but it means domain miyoyim diber, from the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe and on. Aderech in Pasuk, similar that the meaning in the Pasuk, when there's a base, v'hanoisor bivsa basuru b'alechem, which means that whatever is left over by the carbon, what is left over from the carbon in the meat, or the bread, or the meat and the bread, was made fundam basar unlechem. Over there it means not in the bread, but from. V'hanoisar, not bibsar, in, but it means mibsar. So here, when the pasuk says biyoim, means miyoim and diber. So it was meant from the basar unlechem. Fundam basar. But here also means not on the day, but from the day. Beis mitndig biyoim kum the Torah lernen. And the reason, the specific, the Torah says on the day, the Torah is coming to teach us as afilu loylomde rakdover echad nase eile elov telodis. That even just studying one thing with them, they have become his children, and therefore he is considered already, for that alone, they are his todis. We don't need more. Of course, it happened later too, but Biyoim already he became his todis. The Rebbe says, in addition to the difficulty in these answers themselves, is schwer zu sagen, these 2 answers, schwer zu sagen, das ist Kavanas Rashi, In addition, it's difficult to say that Rashi means this. Wow. Aleph. The Ma'inaf Kemina, what difference does it make, Madgish Zain, to emphasize Hahaskola when the Bnei Aaron Zani geworden told this Moshe? Why do we need to emphasize the beginning when the sons of Aaron became told this Moshe? Durch them was Lamdon Torah, through the fact that he taught them Torah. Why do we need to emphasize this? That is when they became his children. So that's the first question. Beis, the Iker. So that wouldn't explain them, But mainly Moshe had gelernt Torah mit Eden euch farmaten Torah. Moshe already studied with the Yidden even before the Torah was given. Far them Yom Divrei Hashem es Moshe Bar Sinai, prior to the day that Hashem talked to Moshe Bar Sinai. Virashi's Mefarish, as Rashi explained, as Bimoro, while they were more nitan lahem mikzas parshiyas shel Torah sheis asku b'hem, they were given some sections of the Torah so that they should occupy themselves in it. Unochmer, this is more after they left Mitzrayim. Nochmer and more sheni Mitzrayim, already Mitzrayim had their Eibishter angezogt kama v'kama dinim. Hashem already instructed many and many laws. With erzählt in Parshas Bois, with in Parshas Bois, Chodesh Elochem, Rosh Chodoshim, and all the mitzvahs that follow. Was Moshe hat sie übergesagt und gelernt mit Eden. Moshe repeated them and taught them with the Eden. Ein Farvos seine Bnei Aaron geworden told us Moshe. So how come we say that Bnei Aaron became told us Moshe asked only being Divrei Hashem as Moshe Har Sinai and Litvardim, only when he spoke to them on Har Sinai, not before them? It seems like Moshe was already teaching them before Har Sinai. He was teaching them in Morah, which is before Har Sinai, and even in Mitzrayim he was teaching them. So they should have become his children then. Maybe you're going to argue the reason that at that point Moshe Rabbeinu did not especially teach the Bnei Aaron. The reason that the Rebbe said before that they're called his told is because it was sort of an extra that Moshe Rabbeinu did to teach the Aaron, because Aaron should teach them after Moshe Rabbeinu teaches Aaron. Maybe this whole Seder from Moshe teaching Aaron and then Moshe also teaching the Bnei Aaron, maybe that wasn't at the time of Morah Yitzias Mitzrayim. So the Rebbe says, it's difficult to say, as those was Moshe had gelernt Torah mit the Bnei Aaron beif miyuchad, this that Moshe was teaching Torah with the sons of Aaron in this unique way was mitzad dem sein is a geworden Toldos Moshe. That is why they became Toldos Moshe Genau, is geworden dafke in them, say their Mishnah, that became specifically in the order of Mishnah, which started on the day after Yom Kippur, of a Nitfreya. So therefore, before, he's not considered like he gave them birth because he didn't teach them in such an order that he's touched them Yom Kippurim, and therefore they weren't his sons then. But that's not really good explanation. This is difficult to say this, that there was a change. Val der Tam, Eze Sheyeh from on them Seder, because the reason, whatever reason is, why this order, the Seder Mishnah, they would learn Bechlal or Befrat, and specifically from learning Bazunder with the Bnei Aaron, to teach individually, separately, the Bnei Aaron, is Shaykh B'chol Tokvei Eichfar Machresh Yom Kippurim. That reasoning applies with the full force also before Machresh Yom Kippurim. There is no reason this order from teaching that Moshe Rabbeinu taught Moshe Aaron, and then the Zikanim and the all of Klal Yisrael, and how he taught it specifically to the Bnei Aaron first. There's no reason, and it would apply full force also before Moshe Kapurim. Buzi is Mochach Bel Gufa, as it's evidence over here itself. As Shoim B'Yom Diber Hashem Es Moshe Bahar Sinai. At that point, also was this Seder, not only Machras Yom Kippurim, which was either B'Shishi Shvi B'Siva, depending on the opinion when Matan Torah was, if it was on the 6th day or 7th day of Siva. But still, regardless, at that time, Dibra Hashem Es Moshe, already this Seder took place over there. It didn't have to wait for Machras Yom Kippurim to start that Seder of Mishnah. But Moshe was teaching separately with the sons of Aaron. We have to say that because we're saying they became his children. So that means that at that point he did learn in such a way. So therefore, it's logical to say as far Matan Torah, that also before Matan Torah, Moshe mitzegi learned from selben Eufen wie noch dem, that Moshe was teaching them on the same way as he taught them later on. That's logical, and therefore, why do we say that they only became told this Aaron Moshe b'yoyim from Yom Diber Hashem, even though he was teaching them like that earlier on? So basically, the Rebbe wants to know, why does the pasuk emphasize that it was at the day that Hashem spoke to him, at the day of Matan Torah, at the 6th or the 7th day, and why didn't it happen when Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching them before, which started earlier than Matan Torah? Why does the Torah tell us about it? And why not this before? The Rebbe wants to explain later on that there is a unique thing that took place by Matan Torah, as we will learn later on. But first, the Rebbe asks several more questions within the language of Rashi itself. Base. There is several questions that we can look into Rashi's language, that we need to understand them, and from them. Aleph. Von Loshen Rashi in dem ersten Dibur, from the Rashi's language in the first Rashi, over there it says, Mala Olav Hakosuv Ki'ilu Yolde. The pasuk counts it upon him as if he has given birth. Is move on, so it's understood as doesn't mean need as a Zayne geworden Zayne Todes. This does not mean that they became his children. Nor blois an inyan fun schar. That is only an idea of sort of reward that we call them. Those werd farechend, we consider it is counted kilu yolde, as if as he gave birth. So that's in the first Rashi. That kegen in zweiten Dibur, second Rashi, Dr. Rashi, nasu elu hatelus shaloi. They became as more as than as if they zanen geworden toldus Moshe. They became his toldus. So you see on a higher degree, more that they became, not just counted as his children. The Tmiya is not aggressive. The surprise that of this seemingly discrepancy is even greater. The Moker from the Pirush Rashi's in Gemara, the source for Rashi's commentaries in the Gemara, and dort is der Loshen, over there the language is Kol Amalamed Maila Olav Akosu Kilo Yelodik. Over there it says anybody who teaches, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to him, as it says Shenamar ve'ela Toldes, as it says ve'ela Toldes, Arno Moshe, Moshe Limad And Moshe lefikach nikra al Shemai, and therefore they were called on his name. So it doesn't say they became. It says nikra Shemai. Rashi is Moisif Oif Lashon Hashas, and Rashi adds to the language of the Gemara. Sagt nit nor v'nikru Tildes Moshe, doesn't just say they are called the Tildes Moshe, nor nasu eila Tildes Shaloi. They became his children. That's number one. Number two, what is that Saloshon? What is this long language? Shalomdon mashalom and he taught them that which he learned mipi hagavura. Rashi is trying to say something here more. Rashi gedarf zogen bekitzer. Similarly, Rashi should have said briefly, in short, wir zoktake dem ersten dibur, as he says actually in the first dibur, shalom don Torah. So Rashi could have said shalom don Torah. Why is it saying mashalom and mipi hagavura? Which is actually the key to what the Rebbe is going to explain. Over there, he learned what he learned with Piagvura, but the Pashtus, why does Rashi have to say that? So first the Rebbe asked, why does Rashi change? Instead of they are called or they're considered, Rashi said they became his children. And number two, Rashi writes clearly more. He says that which he learned with Piagvura, instead of just saying that he taught them Torah. Even if you're going to try to say, as weil in Posik steht der Loschen beyond the Berhavayes Moshe, because in the Posik it states, on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, so Rashi is using the language of the Posik. The Father is Rashi Mahesam Lazamadish. And that's why Rashi also fitting to the language in the Posik emphasizes. As er hat gelernt mit does was der Eibishter hat ihm gesagt that he was teaching them that which Hashem said is noch als nicht glattig, it's still not smooth. Oy bazoi, in that case, vavos is Rashi mishane, why does Rashi change from Loshu v'toichan aposuk, from the language and the content of the verse, zok mashelomad, nit masheshoma. Why does he say that's what he learned, not that what he heard? So in the pasuk, it says, "B'yom dibra Hashem es Moshe." Moshe heard it. What Hashem spoke. Rashi says he studied it, learned it. Why does Rashi say "mipi hagavura," nit mipi havayu ki yitzvayim, from the gavura, not gavayu? Again, this will be the basis of all the Rebbe's explanation, because of these changes in languages gives us the key to understand why are they called the Aaron's, Moshe's children, specifically by Matan Torah, when it was he taught them that which he learned mipi hagavura. Gimel, the beer in that, the explanation of this. Rashi ken sich nit ba nugenden, ba nugenen. Rashi cannot be satisfied with Pirush. Kol ha'melamed es ben chaveirei Torah ma'ala olav ha'kosuv kili ilodei. That anyone who teaches the son of his friend Torah is as if he gave birth. That's why it says, not that's why it says Ela told this Arenu Moshe. While in Posik state Ela told this Arenu Moshe, because it says both. If it would have just said Ela told this Moshe, maybe we could have said that it's called Milo Lavakosu, as if he gave given birth. The problem is the pasuk equates and puts together Tolish Moshe Aaron Moshe. Of course, by Aaron, they were actually his children. When in pasuk Vold Gishtan Lois Tolish Moshe had the pasuk just said these are the children of Moshe, and it would say Aaron's children there. Then you could say, as the pasuk nuts the word Toldos al Shem Hamushal, that the pasuk uses the word his children in a name that was borrowed to represent the idea of giving birth, but it doesn't mean that he actually gave birth. As durch them was London Torah, like in the first Rashi, through that he taught in Torah, is Mala Olav Hakosu Kilu Yolde. The Torah counts it that he gave birth to him. This would be similar to Rashi already explained on the verse by Avram, and the pasuk says, "Nefesh asher osu b'chorim," the nefesh that they made in Chorim. So Rashi explains, "Nison tachas kanfei hashchina." He brought them under the wings of the divine. Umala olav hakosu kilu asom. So the pasuk counts it on them as if they made him. Unaderech zeh steht Rashi, teicht Rashi weiter. Similar to this, Rashi translates later on, B'shayches sulimud HaTorah, in connection with the study of Torah. The Inunza pasuk, we're talking about Torah, but there's talking about Yiddishkeit, but in general. But over here, with regards to Torah, we also find, like in our pasuk, Vishinantom Livonecho, you should teach them to your sons. And Rashi teaches Eila Talmidim, that teaching them to your sons means to your student. But we find everywhere, in a lot of places, that the students are called sons. So when the pasuk says Vishinantum Livanecha, it is referring to the students. Students are sons. So that would be okay if the pasuk would have said just Eila told this Moshe. But since da steht doch aber Ve'ela told this Aaron Moshe, that this is the children of Aaron Moshe, the pasuk dermont zei bechada machse. The pasuk mentions them both together in one inclusion. As Ve'ela Zainen told this Moshe. Punkt wie sie sein until this Aaron, that these are Moshe's children, the same exactly as their Toldus Aaron. Is just because the Torah said Toldus Aaron and Moshe is just a war. So this is surprising. This is problematic. We can zugleichen. How can we equate? Those was a sein until this Aaron. How could equate this that they are the sons of Aaron? Vazeir Mitzias is Atulda von Aaron. They are existence. They're actually a child of Aaron. So then was his Anatolda Moshe zu lieb sein lernen Torah mitzay, that they're his son because Moshe Rabbeinu's son, because he taught him Torah. How could you put it together with Aaron, which was their father, literally? Notwithstanding the great advantage of teaching Torah, the children called your father, is a sober lechaira, but it would be seemingly nit came chidush in zeir etzem etzias. So that's not something which is a novelty, that now their existence, they become like children of somebody else as well. If them zogen blois, all we can say is as if they give birth to them, but not that they became actually their children. Learn Rashi, so Rashi learned that those bavorim their posig. So Rashi says no. This is what the pasuk, the verse is cautioning us with Moshe sein diverter by adding the words. B'yoyim diber havayes Moshe, on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe. Thus is madgish. This emphasizes as the Torah was Moshe gilen with the Bnei Aaron is given, that the Torah that Moshe was teaching the sons of Aaron was Mashalomad mipi hagavura. This emphasizes, but he learned mipi hagavura. Hashem is called here the gavura, the powerful one, the strength. Mipi hagavura. And therefore, Hoder limud, that specific study, this is not an ordinary study. That study that that he learns Mipia Gavura, Oiv Giton Agavura, that accomplished, made up a strength as Nasu Elu Atul Shaloi, that they became his children. As is given Azal Limud, it was such a type of a study, was it Ibergemacht Zeir Etzem Metzias, something that changed their essence of their Beruchni, spiritual existence. Peace is einen der mitgeworden. They became through that spiritually, told this Moshe, they actually became his children, and Kinder Lakamon, as the Rebbe will explain it. There is something special that happened by the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu heard from Hashem B'Pia Gevura, that he transmitted to them, that gave them the Gevura to become his spiritual children, actually his children. How so? The Rebbe explains now. Als Hagdoma zu Matan Torah, as an introduction to the giving of the Torah, or the Rebbe gesagt Moshe, so Hashem says to Moshe, soll übergeben Eden, that he should pass along to the Yidden. Ve'ato im shamoya tishmu'u bekoili. And now, if you will listen to my voice. Ushmartem es brisi, and you will keep my covenant. V'yisem li zgulim mikol ha'amim, you'll be a treasure to me from all the nation. V'atem tiyu li mamleches kahanim v'goy kodesh, you will be a nation of priests and a holy nation. Hashem is saying to Yidden, when they learn Torah and they follow Hashem, their entity becomes an entity of a mamleches kohen v'goy kodesh, that their existence becomes a new existence, an existence of a kohenim v'goy kodesh. There's haste. As matan Torah v'kabolas HaTorah, when Hashem gave the Torah, and the fact we received the Torah, oiv giton hashinui ikri in the etzem etzias from Eden. This made a main change in the essence of the existence of a Yid. 3 years, we call ha'amim. Previous to this, they were like all the other nations. Und durch matan Torah, but through the giving of the Torah, and Eden geworden anders. The Eden became different. Ausgeteilt, separated, zgulo mikolamim, treasured from all the nation. Mamleches kohanim v'goy b'kodesh. They became a nation of priests and a holy nation. The far is Matan Torah given in a neuf, and that's why Matan Torah was in such a way. Of course, we changed them around, came in a way of Gevura, of Hashem showing his power and his might. As the Eberster hat sich bewiesen zu Yidden, that Hashem appeared to the Yidden mit Gevura, and with strength. Koilos, there were sounds, lapidim, flames, koila shofar, the sound of the shofar. But das hat gepoilt ashinui in their Metzias from Eden. That impacted and made a change in the existence of the Eden. Ushmiyas hadibres is given with a mipi hagavura, from the mouth of the gavura, of the strength that gave strength, that brought about a change in the whole existence. Vebald as der v'yisem lizgula is verbunden mit matan Torah. And since, how do we become this treasured nation? It's tied to matan Torah. Unabhängig von ushmatem es brisi, shmiras HaTorah. It hinges on keeping the covenant, keeping the Torah. Is verstandig. That means that Torah has the power. Hashem changes them, but through them keeping the covenant and keeping the Torah is verstandig. As Odem koya formaten Torah zu kennen öfton Ashina Metzias in Eden, that this power, the Matan Torah, was able to change the existence in Yidden, making them into a new nation, Mamleches Kanim V'Goy Kodesh, is reingegeben geworden in Torah. That was given into Torah. That's why it's associated to Torah. When the Yidden learn Torah, that changes around their existence. Und das ist was Rashi is medayik. This is what Rashi specifically uses the words Shalomdu Mashalomad Mipi Gevura. He taught them that which he has learned from the mouth of the Gevura. As the Ayois, as the Torah Shalomdu. Ayois, that the Torah that he taught them, with specifically the sons of Aaron, is given Mashalomad Mipi Gevura. Was that which he learned from the mouth of the Gevura of Hashem, the Gevura, Moshe dos allein gehert und gelernt von Eibishter. Moshe himself heard this and learned this from Hashem. Hat sie in sich gehad begolui. That study had openly the koyach ha-gevura from Matan Torah. That had openly the power and the strength of Matan Torah. Was bekoichet zu mishane sein the Metzias von Aiden, that has the power to change the existence of a Yid. Und der Far, Nasu Eila Hatildu Shaloi. That's why they became now his children. Weil sein Limud hat aufgetan Ahilod Ruchnis, because his study had accomplished a spiritual birth. Now there's a spiritual birth in the study of Torah that he taught them, because it comes with Pia Gevura, from that special strength that changes the Metzias. I say, so based on the above, so that we explained that this is actually Toldos Moshe and Aaron the same, that they became mamish, not just ki'ilu, but they became his children with the power of the Gevura of Matan Torah, as ve'ela Toldos Moshe is nit nora inyan von ki'ilu yodeh. It is not just as if he gave birth to them, nor she is bedoima. To tell this Aaron, this is the same, similar to the children of Aaron. And as Nasu Elo in a way that these became his children. But when I verstehen was the Pasuk is no medai, now we can also understand that the Pasuk specifically says, B'yom diber Hashem es Moshe, on the day, nit miyom. As some said that from that day, but here is not miyom goymer. Punkt wie bei Heilodo Gashmis, just like physical birth, is doch nicht shaykh zu sagen, doesn't apply to say, as the Heilodo is azach was chazit sich iber merer, that the birth repeats itself many times. The Heilodo tut sich auf in der ersten Rega, birth is accomplished in the first instance. Und dennoch kommt vor bloß der Wachsen vom Blood, Mikatos Legaibus. And then later on, all what happens is that the child grows from small, becomes big. But creation, born, he's at the first instant. And the same thing is true by spiritual birth. As is by Halot Ruchnis, the same thing is by spiritual birth. This was Nasu Elo Hatildus Shaloi. This is this that they became his children out of Evgiton B'Yom Diber Hashem es Moshe. On that day, mit nersten Limud was Moshe gelernt Bazunder mit Dibnei Aaron. With that first study that Moshe taught separately Dibnei Aaron, when he gave them that special teaching, the Torah Shalom and Mipi Gevura, the Torah that he learned from Hashem, the Gevura directly. That's when they became. That's when it was born. Later on, there's better limudat Torah from Moshe Midibnei Aaron. Later on, that he learned with them, Moshe with Aaron, is given nit be'oifon that did not, wasn't in a way as durch them nasu elo hatildes shalom. They didn't become his children. As hot nor the Mailefun, but it only has the advantage of Kol HaMalamed as Ben Chaveda Torah, the lesser level degree, not to become the children, but like anybody who teaches his friend's son Torah, as if he gave birth. They don't become his children, but as if he gave birth, could become a Siv Zion. as we'll say, Siv Zion, what happens with others that don't have this special Mipi HaGevura on the day that Hashem gave over, that made them a new Metzias, as if he now that they became his children. Oh, but Abizeh went aber nicht verständig. So if the whole thing is because Mipi HaGevura, so everybody, in a way, heard it Mipi HaGevura. Why was it that Moshe Rabbeinu, teaching his sons, made them up as a new Metzias, because Moshe Rabbeinu accomplished that was accomplished just by being there at Matan Torah. But based on this, it's not understood. By Matan Torah haben doch Eden und Bnei Aaron bechlolom. So by Matan Torah, it's all of the Eden, and including the sons of Aaron. Gehört von der Ebersten allein, they heard from Hashem alone, Mipi HaGevura. They heard it from the mouth of the Gevura, that said it's Adibris. This is ani gewozog geworden b'dibur echad. They heard it as it was said in one dibur. Und noch die zwei dibros von anoichi b'lo yilecha. They heard them separately. The rest of them was articulated by Moshe. But first, all of the 10 in the dibur echad and the 2 dibros anoichi yilecha. So hat sich doch schon bei alle Eden und Bnei Aaron bechlolom. So it seems like by all Eden, including the Bnei Aaron, aufgetan die Heiloda Ruchnis. So that spiritual birth has been accomplished by Meherin the Dibres Mipi HaGevura. They heard it from the mouth of Hashem, the Gevura. Hein Vikam and Zogun. So how can we say? So that wasn't accomplished by Moshe, so that Moshe should get the credit as if he gave birth to them. So how could you say Vikam and Zogun as the Bnei Aaron and Gevorim told this Moshe that how did Bnei Aaron became the generation, the children of Moshe? Durch them was Moshe had der noch after this, which they already heard Mipi HaGevura. The Iber gesagt Bazunder has repeated to them separately was had get Mipi HaGevura, and that which he had heard Mipi HaGevura. And the far is Rashi Medayik, and that's why Rashi emphasizes, specifically says, Shelimdom Mashalomad Mipi HaGevura. Not what he heard, and not that he passed on, but he taught them that which he learned Mipi HaGevura. Kedei as also oifton di haylode ruchnis shayidei Torah, in order for it to be accomplished. That spiritual birth that comes through Torah is not genug der Inyan von Shmiya. It's not sufficient just to hear it. Baalma, just to hear it. Das was the Eden haben bloß gehört, the Dibres from Ebershon Alain, the fact that the Eden heard the sayings from Hashem alone, nor the Torah muss nilmad werden. The Torah needs to be studied. Niklat werden absorbed by Shemeya, the one who hears it. Und das hat Moshe aufgetan. This is what Moshe accomplished. Durch them was limdom, mashalomad, Mipi HaGevura. He taught them that which he has learned Pi HaGevura. Moshe hat nicht nur gerät die andere Ches Dibresim. Not only did Moshe speak the other 8 Dibres to the Yidden, just given over. He heard it, he told them, that are out mitzvah learned. He studied with them. The Allah Haseres Hadibres, all of the 10 sayings, mitzvah halochas uprotidin, with the laws and the specific detailed laws. And since Moshe studied it separately with the sons of Aaron, the Riber Nasa Elu HaTeldish became his Teldish. Because Moshe learned it and Moshe taught it. That's when you become impacted, that it changes your mitzias to this Kodesh, Mamlechas Kodesh that comes through Torah, not just through hearing it. And Moshe Rabbeinu taught it. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu gave birth to them. But then, the question is, why is it specifically the Bnei Aaron? But here, this idea, teaching them, creating the Metzias, L'cheda was done by all Yid. It's not just like somehow a sachar, because he did extra. He wasn't supposed to teach Bnei Aaron, and Moshe Rabbeinu did it, considered as if he gave birth. But here we're explaining it, Nasu, that they became his children because he accomplished by teaching them. But didn't Moshe Rabbeinu also accomplish teaching it all Yidden? What's unique with the Bnei Aaron? On the above explanation, one can seemingly ask, when gesagt, as der Farbus Moshe hat gelernt Torah mit the Bnei Aaron, had we said that because Moshe was teaching Torah the sons of Aaron, is Mala Olav HaKosuv Ki Ilu Yodei, the Torah counts it as if it gave birth. That was the only thing that is doing. But Moshe Rabbeinu didn't really teach them, change them, but it was just sort of a reward. Nor b'ter schar, this is a reward. But when you can't verstehen, then we can understand. But I said this before. Why specifically the sons of Aaron are referred to? I call to this Moshe. Moshe had gelernt Torah mit allen, although Moshe learned Torah with all Yidden. Weil we gebracht früher, because as we brought down earlier, Davke der Limud mit the Bnei Aaron is given an Inyan from the Fnimi Shuras Adin. Because specifically the study with the sons of Aaron was something which was beyond the letter of the law. Because he didn't have to do it. He got reward because Moshe did extra. So you should get a special sachar. So we understand why Moshe Rabbeinu is considered as if he gave birth to them, because this comes as a payment for an extra effort that Moshe Rabbeinu did with the Bnei Aaron, which he did not really have to do. Oh, but according to the above explanation, as thus is nit nor aschar, it's not just a reward. Nor nasu elu hatulish, they become his children. But through them was lomda mashalomad mepi agvura, because through teaching them that which he learned mepi agvura is givorn nahi lo deruchnis. This created a spiritual birth. Is nit muvan. So that's not understood. This is not unique then to the sons of Aaron, all Yidden. In them is the to get to accomplish that seemingly does make a difference. Seemingly is mechuyev to learn them whether you are obligated to teach the other one, or the mentut lifnim mishuras adin, or you're doing beyond the letter of the law. On the bald as the poil, since actually Moshe Gelerm, Mashalomad mit Pia Gvura mit alle Yidden, since he was teaching that which he learned from Hashem with all Yidden, haben doch alle Yidden gedacht werden. Nasu told us Moshe, all Yidden should have become the children of Moshe, because Moshe made them up by teaching them all Torah. So why is only the Bnei Aaron considered? This is more than just a reward. This is because he taught them the Torah long in Piagvura is das Barabazer. So the explanation this is those was limudat Torah poilt ashinu v'hayiloda. This, that the study of the Torah impacts a change and a birth in the Odom Aloimed, in the person that studies, is as neat mitzad dem melamed nor mitzad dem Torah. It's not because of the one who is teaching, but it is because of the Torah. Not the teacher, but it's the Torah that is that has the power of the Gemara. And the Riber, When einer lernt Torah mit der zweiten, when one teaches another one Torah, that he learned because of his obligation, is heinem as while it's true, as tut sich oifai lo de berufnis beim Talmud, that it accomplishes a birth, a spiritual birth by the students. Aber die Hilode is sich nicht misyachet zum Melamed, but that birth does not relate to the teacher. The Torah changed him, nor to the Torah. Pi HaGevura, the Mitzvah is the Torah and the mouth of the Gevura and Hashem. So he's not a birth of the teacher, but it's birth of the Torah of Hashem. Al derech v'dimakis Mitzrayim ben angerufen. Similar as the plagues of the Egypt are referred to as soy sign, my sign from the Eibishter, from Hashem. But Moshe had to get on because Moshe did them by the instruction of Hashem and in his mission. So Moshe doesn't get the credit as he's the one that is doing. It's Hashem's doing. He's told Moshe. So anytime somebody teaches somebody else as mandatory because he has to, und der Melamed kommt schar far mekayim sein mitzvahs hagevura, the teacher gets the reward for fulfilling the mitzvah of the Hashem, but not the effect, not the impact of birth. That belongs to Hashem. That belongs to the Torah, not the person that is teaching. But davke wenn sein Lernen Torah, only when they study a Torah mit dem Zweiten, is nit b'midas v'shuras adin. It's not with the measure and the line of the law. It's not the order, not the expectation. The tzivu Hashem v'shluchusi. It's not a command of Hashem and mission of Hashem, nor she is an inyan. Von lifnei mishuras adin, it's a matter which is beyond the line of the law, beyond the measure of the law. Was tut mitad atzmai, that he does on his own. That mostly the helotis is. Then that birth relates, it's considered that he gave birth. So when Moshe Rabbeinu teaches his sons that he's not supposed, that doesn't obligate him, he's not obligated to teach Aaron's son, and he does that, so then he gets the credit and it's considered to him as he gave birth to them. According to this, we have the opposite question now. So how could Rashi say that we learn from this that anybody who teaches the son Torah, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to them? But it almost seems like this level can only come through Moshe Rabbeinu when he teaches them by the Lamed Pia Gevura. We're saying that Kol HaMelamed, how do we apply it to all cases? Zayin. We still need to understand that Pia Nalkum Tuis, based on the above, it turns out as that Inyan Funasu Edu Atelu Shaloi. This idea that they became his Toldos is Shaykh Aleph Nor by Moshe. First of all, the only one who could do that is Moshe. He learned by himself from the mouth of Hashem. So therefore, his study with the Bnei Aaron had them koyach. It had the power. He can accomplish a spiritual birth. So it's just Moshe obeys. Can only happen or beyond Diber Hashem es Moshe. On that day when Hashem spoke to Moshe, when he's given the Hascholas Halimud, when it started the study, Mashallah B'Pia Gvura, that which he had studied from the Pia Gvura, B'Bnei Aaron, isn't it? Move on. Not understood. We came from them upland. So how could we learn from this? As called Hamalamed is ben Chaveda Torah Ma'alol Avakosu Kilu Yolodei, that anybody who teaches his friends some Torah is as if he gave birth to him. So what the Rebbe is going to say, it may be true that only Moshe could come to the level of Nasu that they become, but the Torah's instruction for all of us, why is the Torah telling us what happened? But that was past, to still give us the lesson that we can accomplish, maybe not Nasu, but Kilu Yodei. Is the Bir Bazar. If we shall say, as the Inyan for Nasu Elu Atolu Shaloi, that this became his children, his Shaykh Blois by Moshe, is only applied to Moshe. But Oiskum, and so it turns out as Mitzulegen the word Moshe. When the Torah added the word be Torah's Aaron Moshe, so Torah added Moshe, is there in them posik, in this posik is the Torah Meramis, Torah will be hinting nor a sipur, only a story, and ein moliker oiftu, a one-time accomplishment was his given Shaykh Blois by Moshe, and that only applied to Moshe. In Pshuta shall Mikra Aber legt sich zusammen. But in the simple meaning of the pasuk, it makes sense to say, I know we were able to. We have to explain it according to this logic. As Torah is Torah doesn't mean just to tell us a one-time thing, but Torah wants to teach us a lesson, something to learn. So Rashi brings down in many places as a pasuk has come to teach us. Similar. So we're not going to say just the Torah tells us what happened there. The father learned Rashi. That's what Rashi also learns in our case. Although the actual concept that they became his actual children, is only would apply to Moshe when he learns it from Hashem. And only on that day that has the koyach. But learned man aber the fun of we however can learn from this as euch kol hamalamed is ben chaved Torah, that also anybody who learns the son of his friend Torah is akol ponim, is at least, even though it's not nasu, but at least it's mala hakol of akosu ki ilu yilodi. The Torah counts it as if he gave birth to him. Bald as jeder inyan from Torah, since every aspect of Torah. Was jeder Yid learned with Ben Chaveira that a Yid, any Jew, studies with the son of his friend. So jeder Zeit in every time is gesagt geworden mit Pia Gebura, was said from Hashem. Chot as der Melamed does need gelernt mit Pia Gebura. The teacher did not hear it from Pia Gebura. But it was said, but he didn't hear it. Based der Ben Chavere could even be Shanalamden. He's already a scholar, but kum der Melamed der Schar, the teacher gets the reward, was as Vert Farechen Kilu Yilode is counted as if he gave birth to him. Abel Yesh Loimar, the Rebbe says, as B'diuk L'shoinoi, this specific language that Rashi says, Kol HaMelamed is Ben Chavere, teaching a son of his friend. Nit Chavere, anybody teaches your friend. Is Merashi Meram, is Rashi hints to us. As the Inyan for Malo of Akosu Kili Lode, when the posik count as if you gave birth, Tutzich Oiv Bi Iker, it mainly is accomplished when Neseretzich when Alimud, when we're talking about studying nit and abhängig Mensch. We're not talking about an independent person. No mit ben Chavere. We're talking about somebody who's a son of your friend. A kind was held by Hascholas Alimud. We're talking about a child that's just starting to learn. When we bow der Melamed, since this teacher Mach de Haschola Shalimud HaTorah, he opens up, makes the opening for the study of Torah mit ben Chavere with his friend's son, he says the liber and oiftu. And therefore, that's an accomplishment, a chidush, that is a novelty. You're starting him off, you're putting him on his feet, was he's begathered from Elod Ruchnis, which is in this definition of a spiritual birth. That's why it says Ben Chaveda, in which you're starting him off. Oisches. Therefore, this we can learn out. By the way, Abir in dem Goidel Ha'inyan Shel von Eimer Dover B'Shem Emrei. An explanation in how important, how great is the matter to say something in the name of the one who said it. Peace be Maimer Chazal till the saying of our sages, thus is maybe Geula Lo'ilam, this brings redemption to the world. So the Gemara says there that she said it, Asaf said it in the name of Mordechai, and that brought about the whole Geula of the Ness of Purim. Shas einer zogt iber an Inyan in Torah b'shem oimrei. When somebody says over something in Torah in the name of the one that said it, is er damit madgish dem Inyan ha-mesoida. So he emphasizes by doing that the idea of this tradition shebetoira. V'er had the Torah mekabel given berabbi, that he received this teaching, this Torah from his teacher. And then from this, it's logical, his teacher, one generation, the other generation, Biz Moshe Rabbeinu, till you get up to Moshe Rabbeinu, was Moshe Lamed Mipi Agvura, he learned Mipi Agvura. Und der Mit, was verbindet Inyan in Torah, was sagt mit Moshe, as gelernt Mipi Agvura, the fact that he ties this idea in Torah that he says, it ties it to Moshe as he had studied from the Gevura, from Hashem, is a megala dem koyach from Piha Gevura in their Torah Vaserzak. Then he reveals the power of the Piha Gevura, the Torah that he's saying, making that connection, making that chain link to the one who taught him, makes the link all the way to the Piha Gevura in this Torah that he's saying. And with that power, he can accomplish the idea of birth. We can say more than this, as the far is this maybe. That's why this brings redemption to the world. Redemption is an idea of strength and birth. That's a rebirth, it's a re-energy, it's a strength, as explained in many places. Even though that in the simple meaning, you can't say of Kol HaMelamed is Ben Chavei Torah. Anytime you teach your son of your friend Torah, says Verdruch dem Oivgiton an Inyan Shaloi Loda Mamish Kinal, that will accomplish a birth mamish. We can't say that. We say Ki'ilu Yolde. But still, we bowed over as Torah's emezok the roif. But since Torah's true Torah says about this as Malo of Akosu Kilu Yolde, that we count it as if he gave birth, is verstandig, so it's understood that this is nit lois achit soinis dike fraglaich. So it's not just an external comparison to something different, to something else, something second. Not as b'pnimis in yonim or oivgiton, but in the inner matter of things, he accomplished ame'ein from ki'ilu yolde, similar to giving birth. It's ki'ilu yolde, as if he gave birth, so there is a connection as to say mamish that he gave birth. It's a main from yolde. The bir bazem. So what's the explanation? That oynesh of bittul Torah is the punishment, the penalty for wasting time of Torah not learning is the varavaye bozo, ikoris to koris, because you have shamed the word of Hashem by neglecting and not studying. So therefore, you deserve. Pasuk says the kodesh to be cut off. This is a concept, an idea of opposite of life being cut off. Rahman al-Islam, God forbid. Because the life force of a Jew is verbunden mit Torah, is tied to Torah. Ki heim chayenu. They are life. Therefore, when I eat is poirish from Torah. Therefore, when I eat separates himself from Torah. Is does vis dogim haperishin in ayam. It's like fish that separate from the ocean. Alpi Torah sabal shem tov, so based on the teaching of Shem Tov. As bechol rega is the Eibishter mechadish dem chai dem kiyim v'chayis miyad nivro. That in every instant Hashem renews the existence and the energy of every created being. Kuntuis turns out when einer lernt Torah, that when you learn Torah, bavorn sich von kodesh to kodesh, and he protects himself from wasting time, which will bring him heipach hachayim, kodesh to be cut off. Is das nit nor an inyan shlili. This is not only a matter of negative, azerot farhit, that he protected himself. We're saying that he accomplishes protection of not being hurt. Azerot farhit, as by him only nifsik werden sein, hemshachachai, is that he protected that it shouldn't interrupt his continuous flow of energy by not wasting Torah and learning Torah. Nor is an inyan chiyuvi, but this is actually a positive matter. Durch sein limud, through his study, is a goydem as the Eibishter zal mechadish sein ki mechayis. He causes that the Eibishter should renew his existence and his energy. Therefore, is kol hamalamed is ben chavei Torah. Anyone who teaches the son of his friend Torah, malo levakosu ki'ilu yelodi. The Torah counts as if he gives birth to him. Vayed mol, and every time you learn. With vemen ezol nor zayin, whoever it may be. Was the mit verbindt men ben chavei mit moker chayuser. That way you tie the ben chavei, the son of your friend, with his source of life. Das ki'ilu yolda, as if he gave birth. Eret oivgiton I loda, that he had accomplished birth. Every time you're making birth, you're recreating. Because he caused as the Eibishter so berega zeh, and that instant to renew the existence of Ben Chaveda by keeping him connected to Torah, Kihem Chayenu, and that's the source of his life, and he has sustained it and he has preserved it by teaching it. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Bamidbar, Tavshin Chav Ches and Tavshin Lamed Ches.